Welcome back to The Path to Growth. Today we're exploring how Red Hat is driving growth in the era of AI, virtualization, and ecosystem transformation. Joining me today is Stefanie Chiras, who leads partner ecosystem success at Red Hat. Stefanie, welcome.
Hi, Matt. It's great to be with you. Thank you.
Great. It's good to see you again. So, well, listen, Red Hat's been on quite the journey, right? Quite a sort of transformational journey for the last couple of years, I would say. So what does that mean in practice for you and your partners?
Yeah, so I think I always like to bring back the things that we do back to the customer. And I think if we look at the journey that customer buying patterns have been on, how are they buying technology? How are they implementing it? That has been a journey for customers. We've seen changes in cloud. We've seen changes in economic forces. We've seen changes in virtualization and AI. And really, customers are now looking for holistic solutions, right? They don't want to have to aggregate from a whole bunch of different vendors. And I feel like this is a time, right, in this space where there is no one size fits all for any customer. This is the time for partners to come together. And we, Red Hat, being a platform company, we have worked to try to align our ecosystem strategy to that company strategy of being a platform, right? As customers want to do something holistic, we want our platform to be their choice to sort of underpin that with all the flexibility that the ecosystem around it brings. So in order to do that, we had to change a number of things about how we engage with partners, really focusing on how do we simplify the engagement model on a global scale? How do we empower the partners with autonomy for them to shape their future in their business model with Red Hat? And how do we bring more transparency through the program was really important. So we have definitely been on a journey. I think we put as the purpose of that journey to deliver to customers side by side with partners. That is the purpose of it. But there's a lot of work that has gone into it, Matt.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you just touched on a few, I guess what would be some of the challenges, but what other challenges has the company had to overcome along the way in that journey?
I think one of the things, again, bringing it back to the customer, is we are a technology company at heart, and we are a platform technology company at heart. And when you look at the changes in what customers are looking to do, looking for business outcomes, AI is a great example, right? Where they're trying to take some of the most exciting technology any of us have ever seen and have that deliver business outcome. It starts to change who you need to talk to with a customer, how you talk to them, and industry verticals become very important for those business outcomes. That has pivoted, right, how we need to work with the partners. How do we need to work with the partners in order to help them be able to bridge into those motions, the Red Hat story, the Red Hat technology? How do we help the partners be able to do that? How do we support the partner when we have a contact within the customer? So I think one of the biggest challenges, and it's certainly at Red Hat, I think it's everywhere, is since the buying patterns are different, the people buying are different in the companies, the technology is changing so quickly. Multi-partner solutions are more important than they have ever been. So therefore, creating those connections, right? We really want to be a catalyst within the ecosystem, but creating those connections to show up in the market is really important. And for us, we started from a space where our ecosystem engagements were quite siloed across the company. And over the past 3 years, we have done a lot of work, and that was an internal challenge for us. We centralized all of our ecosystem work from those partners that we roll up our sleeves with and build things with, to those partners that we go to market with, to those partners that service the customers, right, that we sell technology to. And how do we pulled all of that together, which gave us a new opportunity to really try and drive those multi-partner engagements. And then we were able to build a partner program to try and support, instill that and make it easy and transparent and clear as best we can. But it's a journey, Matt. There's still a lot more work to do, but.
Well, the beautiful thing about tech is it's a never ending journey. You kind of casually threw off a number of kind of paradigm shifts in there when we went through kind of cloud, internet, and then obviously you mentioned the big one, AI. But before we get to that, what I would say is, I just got a sense of that. But it sounds like that approach is helping drive growth for the ecosystem and for Red Hat. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all trying to come together with how we help customers through these really complex endeavors that they're taking on. And none of us can do it alone. None of us can do it alone.
Yeah.
And so for us to grow, for Red Hat to grow, for the partners to grow, we have to figure out how to come together and show up in front of a customer and deliver confidence, trust, and technology that works. And so being able to do that collectively, right? That is what is going to drive growth. It's not just about who has the best technology or who has the best pricing. It's not about that anymore. I think the real value to customers and to drive growth is how are you working together with the other partners and vendors that matter in that solution to that customer. That's where the growth is going to come from. And so we're very vested in sort of making sure that we lean into that type of a multi-partner motion.
Okay, so let's pick up on that and where you were just going with AI, right? So as you sort of said so well, the misnomer or the misperception with AI is, I can plug a box in and I can come out of it and say, guys, we've done it. We've done AI. All this productivity should be flowing through, and of course that's not anywhere near the case. So much complexity, so much collaboration, and obviously Red Hat is doing a really good job of driving that. How are you helping the partners kind of bring AI from that kind of hyperscaler hype that's driving the narrative today to actually Main Street, right, where the adoption will truly take form, and of course where the transformation will really happen?
I think so. Let me start with the technology a bit, Matt, and then I'll come into how we're engaging with partners around it. At our core, of course, right, our goal is to provide a platform where a customer can purchase the Red Hat platform, whether that be Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat OpenShift, but that technology, then they can keep that platform wherever they want to run it. And we keep providing innovation that helps it be relevant in the new spaces of technology. And that's what we're doing in the space of AI as well. So we have taken our platforms, we have not only added AI capabilities into it, but we have changed the technology to be able to deliver AI on top of it. And the reason why I say that is and why this consistency of platform is so important is because for partners who know Red Hat technology, and let's just say they have skills in Red Hat OpenShift, right? They can now go into a customer who has that technology and build upon it into the AI space. What can OpenShift do in order to help them deploy new models? How does OpenShift AI help them manage model lifecycle? How does the ecosystem of AI ISV partners who work on top of OpenShift, how does that help that partner be relevant where that customer wants to go? So I think collectively, we build our technology in order to take the install base through a journey of innovation as the market changes, and we're pulling in all of the technology partners that make that relevant. That delivers equally value to those partners who understand our technology, because now, right, we want to enable them, right, to share that, help them take their customers through that journey. So to me, it's very much of a buildup, and we are seeing a lot of AI being done on the public clouds. We're very vested in making sure our technology shows up where they want it, but we're hearing from a lot of folks on Main Street and elsewhere, right, where they want to deploy it on-prem, where their data is, and I think partners have a critical role there. They're trusted.
Yeah, I mean, partners are that, that kind of last mile, right? They're that connection point. And a good partner knows the business just as well as they know the technology, and I think that's the one of the fundamental value props of the partner ecosystem is actually understanding the business and the dynamics.
Absolutely. And nowhere more important than in AI, because folks just don't want to deploy AI. They want a business outcome from it. And that's where the partners can come in, just as you said, Matt, with that understanding of the business. What are the metrics that matter? What are the pain points that the customer is trying to address? The partners have that understanding, and AI is not being sold as a technology. It's being sold as an outcome.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. There's I think it's an MIT study out right now where there's a fair amount of frustration in large enterprises with AI. But I suspect that's because they've taken that technology approach versus business outcome approach, and they've kind of tried to build some sort of super agent that's sort of sitting somewhere and is all knowing, all seeing, and to your point, if you don't actually have a challenge or a workflow that you think AI can make a difference on, or drive productivity or better insights faster, then you're just throwing a ton of data into something and expecting it just to, I don't know, make some kind of change. Of course, it's not designed to do that.
No, absolutely not. And inherently, right, it will be disappointing.
Yeah.
Right. So having a clear view of the outcomes, which starts with an understanding of the business, just as you said, is really important in an AI project.
100% agree. So let's look at that internally, right? Let's just pivot and kind of look inside. Yeah. How is Red Hat using AI for either your marketing? You're a global company, so you've got content in multiple languages. How are you trying to attack that using AI, and what successes have you seen today?
Yeah, I think I would say we're kind of tackling it in two ways. One is as you all know, right? We are open source to our core, and we believe in a collaborative culture. We have kicked off what we call an AI steering committee here in order to drive innovation and adoption and business value. But in addition, we are really pulling on the Red Hatters here, right? We have blogs, and we shine a spotlight on individuals who have found innovative ways to bring AI into their work. And that's been really nice to see, right? It's very inspiring to see individual Red Hatters who had some challenging problem and they have tackled it using AI, and they get a spotlight on them, and we all learn from it. We have adopted Gemini across the organization. So team members are using that all over. We're seeing folks who, like myself, we had the senior leadership team did an AI boot camp where we were all put into groups where it said, okay, you need to run a company. Here's your outcomes. You're either the marketing lead or the product lead or whatever. And we came in and we did it together. We got the hands-on experience, right? Yeah. Which feels very rooted in us too. I wrote more code in that day, Matt, with code assistant with AI code assisting than I have written in the past 15 years. So I was like, this was a fun day. But so we've done things like that are more grassroots. But what that's led to is we do use it in our support system with ServiceNow. We have Ask Red Hat internally, which I think I'm hearing from not only us, but from a lot of folks outside, from our partners and from our customers. That starts to become a really good way to start to see what is important in the company, right? What are people asking? What is the data that gets pulled on? So it's not only just a tool, it starts to become a a point of visibility to see, right, what can be done next. We also use Red Hat agents for sales, for customer engagement. So we are implementing it across the board, including in engineering. And we're really leaning in to have every individual use it in their day-to-day lives and share how they're using it. So it's both grassroots and tops down.
Yeah, and that's really good to hear. I mean, I as a CEO of obviously a small company, we've tried to take the same approach, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of encouraging people, and then what we've seen, to your point, Stefanie, is we've seen totally non-technical, non-engineer folks
Right.
in a line of business essentially create code, I guess,
Yeah.
right, to solve a problem. And boom, suddenly we have an agent, right, that's sitting inside of our business and it's solving a very specific, workflow problem. And it's absolutely fascinating. We've gone from, I mean, obviously we write about it all day because we're, the biggest technology media company in the world, so we're writing about it. But we've gone from writing about it to kind of trying to understand the implications to actually seeing it deployed dynamically in our business from just employees, right? Not technical people. I don't have a team of devs somewhere in India that's writing code. It's just regular folks. It's absolutely eye-opening when you see it.
It really is. And it creates this flywheel effect, right? Like it creates the energy, then other people try it. I find one of the most eye-opening things that I have seen is you learn how to ask questions that for a long time you thought you couldn't ask. Like go in and ask a question like, write some code to create a web page for this product. It's like, you don't, for so many years, we couldn't ask questions like that. And now here it is. It's just very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And have you are you sort of seeing within the organization the usual sort of third of a group of people that are like charging the barricades, a third that are kind of like begrudgingly coming along, and then a third that are like, oh, another transformation, this is going to be really tough.
Yeah, I think I mean in general you definitely have those jet setters, right? And then I think that's part of the reason why we tried to lean into that internal view of shining a spotlight on them so that we could really sort of inspire others, right? Those others who don't necessarily feel as comfortable. And it's across a breadth of roles. So it's not just like this is how engineers can use it or coders can use it, or this is how, the IT team can use it. We try and broaden it across all of the different orgs because I do think, right, depending upon your comfort level to try something new, how it was exposed to you, it takes a little bit of getting used to. So, certainly there are the pace setters, and then there are those that are struggling a little bit more. But we have adopted a focus of shine a spotlight on the
Yeah.
on the ones who are really doing it and get the hands dirty of everyone. Get everyone's hands on it because you don't know what it can do until you try it.
Yeah, it is one of those technologies, exactly that, right? You have to play around with it to realize that, wow, this can make a difference.
Absolutely.
You don't need to be technical. What I would say, I mean, I message this to our folks all the time, is like, look, and there's a lot in the press about this, so I think it's just kind of the way sometimes the press works, which is, I don't think AI is going to take your job, but I do think somebody who's using AI will take your job, right? And therefore, we're trying to help you. You need to lean into what we're giving you. You need to adapt the tools. You need to play around, make some mistakes. That's okay.
Yeah.
And be confident and proficient with the use of AI, because that is unquestionably the near future.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. So let's take that then, because obviously we're both sat here in the US. If we look around the world, obviously many different sort of nuances. Are you seeing any regional differences in the adoption of AI across the ecosystem?
Yeah, not too long ago, I was over, because it really struck me. I walked away with a different perspective. I was over in Asia Pacific and I went to India. Um, I was amazed by the level of adoption in India in particular, right? Who is the innovation, the speed of adoption across the ISVs in particular. was quite interesting. They have, from a Forrester article, right? They said 56% of metro adults are using generative AI. That's amazing. And I think when you start to look at a space like India, right, it's an incredibly digitized economy. They have been, so this to me is like starts to lay out the combination of the AI and the data, which everyone talks about. But boy, when you have a large country like India, who is almost completely digitized, they have so much data, everything is done digitally. And then you can bring AI into it. It's like that rate and pace of adoption is phenomenal. I mean, I was just sitting with a set of partners, just incredibly inspired by what's happening. And it seems to be happening very broad based. If I compare that with something like EMEA, right? EMEA, what I'm seeing there is definite commitment to AI. Definitely also it is shining a light though on things like regulatory challenges and the need for cloud sovereignty, right? Again, tying to that data aspect. And I think, when we talk about AI, the tight parallel between data and AI is, you talk to a customer and you say, so how's your AI deployment going? They're like, well, we're working through the data aspects, right? It's the biggest thing. When I look at the geographies, it's similarly, right? India is completely digitized. EMEA has large regulatory requirements around the data. That's driving the need for sovereign cloud. And I'd say, here in the Americas, right, it's amazing, not as broad, I would say, as India, right, for progress and adoption of it, but incredible, like large enterprises are doing phenomenal things. So it's very varied, right? And we're trying very hard to be able to lean in with partners who have, again, that culture understanding, the industry understanding in the spaces to lean in with them.
That's very interesting, and the India thing is fascinating because I did read, I think in the last week or so. So obviously, different parts of the world have different socioeconomic compacts. So what we could pay for in the US would be very a tiny slice of the Indian population could afford to pay us that sort of subscription. So I think it was Perplexity that did a deal with one of the Indian telephone providers, and for like like $1, maybe like a month, right? Which compared to the US, it's more like $20. You have full access to their model. But what they're learning, which is absolutely fascinating, is that most of the data flow in India, most of the prompts are actually audio. And so people are just using purely speech versus type or tactile. And there's a couple of reasons that for that potentially is one, the phones are not always, once you get outside of obviously the sort of upper middle class and beyond, they won't necessarily be the most sophisticated phones. And so voice is easier. The other thing is there actually is still relatively high illiteracy rate as you move out of metro. Now, of course, what they're gaining, or what the LLM is gaining, is an enormous amount of data and inference of understanding accents and how people speak differently versus type. And so that model is becoming incredibly smart in that regard. And it's like really, really interesting when you just think about the as you just said, the volume of data these models are absorbing every day, just in that market alone. And then the other thing you touched on, which is actually really interesting, is its sovereignty, because obviously AI is geopolitical, right? And there's definite tensions now around use of technology in this market and giving people access. And Europeans maybe don't want to be beholden to American models or to China. Does that impact a global company like Red Hat in any way when you're putting partner deals together in terms of like, okay, we're in Europe, they're definitely going to want to work with sort of European providers or European source tech?
Honestly, for certain, it impacts when I look at something like sovereignty and the needs to deal with regulatory and customer preferences around it, it touches everything, right? From technology standpoint, How do we build up the right APIs to enable sovereignty? How do we have the right business contracts to support enough partners to do, regional clouds, which are becoming more and more important. So everything from the technology to how we're able to support partners with contracting to pricing models to support clouds, all of that is important. So to me, it touches absolutely everything. And then when you go into more of the go-to-market side, it's, are you working with the right partners in that space? And it gets broadened, right? Because a country may have certain regulatory requirements and certain partners may be more trusted in that space. So how do we lean into work with that partner? So I think it does provide a, normally, right, when you talk about partners, every partner has their value prop that they bring to the table. This whole sovereignty changes, right? There's a whole new value prop. It's the ability to understand regulations. It's ability to be located in the right geography, to have the right infrastructure deployed in the right geography. I mean, there's just so many things that it adds into it. And so it is important, right, for Red Hat as a global company our partnerships are incredibly important because we won't be as expert, but we're trying to build the technology to support the partners to bring their expertise to deliver in this space.
Yeah. And so presumably, I mean, this will be an easy one for you with Red Hat's kind of, the core of your business, open source. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the core kind of brand attribute is collaboration. This actually leans in very nicely to the value prop of Red Hat as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. We feel very strong about that identity, right? And we try and bring it into everything we do, from the technology and the way we develop into how we engage into the ecosystems and how we show up in front of a customer with others. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So, if we look at, we've touched on this, right? We've talked about the need for, multi-partner collaboration, and it's obviously, a core attribute of the business. What do you think is different, Stefanie, about this technology and this shift compared to other shifts that we've been through?
Specifically, Matt, in the AI space?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of key differences that are important. One is the technology stack is different. You've added now in a new layer of models, which quite honestly has changed the game for how it all comes together. I don't think we have seen a technology that touches every layer in the stack to deliver an outcome like AI does
Right.
in maybe ever, right? Because now you have different accelerators, you have tools to support those accelerators, you have models entered in, you have the software stack, and you have probably the most rapidly changing ISV space or application space. Now it's moving to agentic, which is a whole new layer. So the way the technology intertwines across the whole stack is very unique in AI. It brings a new layer of requirements to the ecosystem to show up from a technology ecosystem. You then bridge that over to the go-to-market side, and we already touched on this, Matt, right? But I don't know that we've ever seen anything where the technology is so compelling in and of itself, but the market needs a business outcome from it immediately, right? In the past, you had people selling technology, and then you had others coming in trying to bring. No, that has to happen at the same time now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing some customers, they want outcome-based pricing, right? I mean, it's changing a whole lot of things. Like, listen, I'll deploy AI if I get the outcome of this amount of efficiencies coming out. And because we've never seen that timeline compress for the expectations of IT deployment with business outcome like it is in AI. And I'd say the third thing that is totally different is just the speed. The speed of this technology and the change in it is unprecedented. And so you take those three kind of key things, and boy, it's an exciting time to be in the industry, Matt.
It is. I mean, I've lived through the whole print to digital, the emergence of search, lived through. I was telling someone the other day, my proudest career moment was being in the front row when the iPhone was released, because that used to be an IDG show, and I was seen at the G, and it was like amazing, spectacles to see. And then thinking, yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm definitely going to get one, but there's no way he'll sell 10 million in 1 year. Little do I know, and then that shift to cloud and going to events where CIOs would be saying there's not a cat in hell's chance. I'm a CIO of a financial services company that we will ever be in the cloud. Right. Well, look at that now. But it's the difference here is you really have to work hard to find a naysayer, someone who's a skeptic, right? Because everybody is incredibly excited, and leaning in. But to your point, right, and you've mentioned this more than once, Stefanie, I think they're leaning in with, okay, give me a proof point, right? Like, yes, we want to use AI, we want to become an AI ready, an AI first company, but help me understand the proof point.
Exactly. It's just and it feels like we've been it's been on such a rapid rise, but the real business opportunity around it, I think, is yet to come. Inference is going to be the spot, right, where massive deployments, right, very distributed, hardware, software, models, you name it. So there's a lot yet to go on this journey that we will learn, and a lot of business opportunity to be had.
Yeah. No, it is exciting. All right, so I just want to pivot for a moment. I want to kind of move back to, I guess, kind of a little bit of the past, but what's old is new again, particularly because of the need for data that you touched on. So a lot of shifts happening in the world of virtualization. Many customers are kind of reassessing their platforms. How is Red Hat activating the partner ecosystem for the virtualization needs of the world today?
Yeah, as you say, right? A lot of customers are looking at their virtualization environment. What do they want to do? Which vendor do they want to use, et cetera? And they're also looking at, that's a big shift for a customer to make. They're also looking at that within the context of, where am I going to move forward, and how is this going to help me in the world of AI? So now you have these two pieces coming together. So it becomes a big decision point for a customer. From a technology standpoint, of course, we have leaned in very hard with OpenShift virtualization, which allows the reason why it's unique is it provides the ability to do containers and virtual machines side by side, right? Now, what we're seeing is, while the technology allows that, customers are at different rates and paces of what they want to do. Many simply say, listen, I got VMs and I want to move them to an alternative. I want to run them somewhere differently. And how we help partners engage with a customer at the rate and pace that they want, right? To perhaps they want to migrate VMs today. Perhaps they already have some containers. Perhaps they just want to lay a foundation to do AI on containers in the future. Helping partners take customers on that journey is a process, right? So we're really leaning into, one, provide the technology that provides the flexibility for today and going forward with the right financials, because total cost of ownership is a top key ask from customers in this space. So helping partners be able to have that discussion, incredibly important. The other thing I would say is, and this has been a big piece of work for us, is because if a customer is looking for a virtualization alternative, that virtualization has to sit within a bigger deployment in that IT infrastructure. They have storage, they have backup, they have disaster recovery already set up. And they're asking you to come in and say, what can you do for me in my virtualization environment? But it's not standalone. So one of the biggest pieces we have spent time on is making sure that we have all the technology and go-to-market work with all of those other partners in that IT landscape that are so important to that customer, right? Setting up the right collaborations with storage partners, with backup DR partners, with security partners, networking. So we have leaned in to build all of that up because virtualization sits within a world of IT. And if we're going to come in and help with that virtualization piece, we need to make sure that we have all of the rest of the pieces working together. And someone, right, probably a partner or a systems integrator, someone can provide clarity to the customer to say, how does all of that come together? How do they feel confident with it? How do they understand the support model they'll have? So it's a big decision, and it is one of the most ecosystem heavy things I have seen. It has woken up everyone to the importance of ecosystem. Certainly, I think in the market, but certainly within Red Hat as well.
Yeah, fascinating. I love the way you just brought that home with the importance of ecosystem. So as we wrap up, I want to ask more of a personal question, if I may.
Yeah.
What's your personal path to growth?
I have always been a path on growing skills, right? I don't look at it as like jobs and things. I look at it as what skill can I gain next. I will say, Matt, I feel like AI has opened up the age of curiosity.
Yeah.
Never has it been easier to be curious about something and learn about it, right? I'm an engineer by training. I was curious enough to lean into product management and then curious enough to lean into ecosystem. And I feel like in this day and age, right, it's easier to be curious with the ability of AI. And I love how circular that sounds being a technology person.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love that. I mean, it's funny that you started in engineering and here you are,
Yeah.
on the business side, running a global organization, but you've kind of come back to your roots because of the power of AI, right?
Yes.
It's interesting. Well, look, Stefanie, you've been fantastic. I want to thank you for being with us today. What I always like to do is just wrap up a couple of things that I heard, kind of buzzwords. So you mentioned more than once the journey, right? And you mentioned more than once that collaboration and transparency. So sort of working together with the partners and with customers on that journey. I loved how you talked about it's about business outcomes, right? We're not selling technology anymore for the sake of technology. In 2 years we'll find it'll fix something. It's like, no, what is it going to do today? How's it going to make a difference in our world today? AI is touching every layer in the stack. So it isn't isolated anywhere. The speed, right? The speed of innovation and the compressed sort of timelines that we're seeing. And then I think I really want to land on this sense of curiosity, right? Both from a personal point of view, but also what the technology itself is doing. So again, Stefanie, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for being with me today.
No, it's been delightful to talk to you, Matt. Thanks for the opportunity.
That's it for this episode of The Path to Growth. I'm Matt Yorke. Thanks for listening.